Hey y'all, it's Ruru. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me and welcome, hey, to all of my new subscribers. Over the past month, I got like 20 new subscribers. So thank you for following and subscribing. Welcome to the party. I'm glad to have you. So just to tell you a little bit about myself and my channel, I would consider this a lifestyle channel, regular lifestyle channel. I'm not trying to seem like I live all glamorous and fabulous. I just live a normal life, normal working girl. So whatever I have going on, I'll be sure to share. I enjoy cooking and baking. I have a lot of videos on that. I also enjoy shopping, bargain shopping, thrifting. To tell you about a little my outfit, this is from Kohl's on the clearance rack. It was $14, and this is a 9-wash dress. I really like the print and the colors. It's so cute and comfortable. And then about my hair, I usually do my own hair. So these are just Marley twists that I have thrown up in a bun. I do have a video on how I do my Marley twists on my channel. So just scroll through and like, share, comment. I'll try to respond if I see your comment. So this video today is about fibroids. July is Fibroid Awareness Month. So I wanted to share my own fibroid and health journey because it may help someone. Everybody's journey is different. So I wanted to share how I dealt with fibroids and the procedure, myomectomy, that I had to get rid of them. So if you're watching this video, you're probably familiar with what fibroids are, but for those who are not, they are muscular tumors that grow on and around the uterus. Usually they are benign or non-cancerous. There are labs and tests, blood work that can be done to confirm that it's non-cancerous. And just to give you some statistics, Black women are 3 times more likely to develop fibroids than white women. I also saw a stat that said about 80% of women will have experienced fibroids by the time they are 50. So fibroids are very common, especially in the Black community. There's a lot of things that disproportionately affect the Black community. And we have to be aware of that and speak up and advocate for ourselves and also help others that may not know, what to do or how to get treatment for it. So just to tell you about like my health history and how I found out I had fibroids. So all my life, like I've been overweight, full figured. I like to consider myself plus size. That's why if I ever know where a good bargain is for the plus size fashion, I'll be sure to share with my girls, So all my life I've been overweight. Is in my family, obesity. In high school, I was diagnosed with high blood pressure. That too is very common in the Black community. And then when I was an adult, about maybe 24 years old, I was told I had an overactive thyroid. So the thyroid is in your neck. It's a butterfly-shaped gland. And it is also like regulated by hormones, affected by different hormones, just like fibroids are. So if there's one issue that you go through and then something else comes up, they may be related. I've had to research on my own, well, how did this come about? If no one's talking about it, you really don't know for yourself. So about thyroids, thyroids affect 1 in 8 women. Estrogen, that hormone, affects thyroid function. That also affects your fibroids as well. And also I saw a statistic that said 17.6% of women with thyroid nodules also have fibroids. So thyroid nodules are just little nodules that grow on your thyroid, which could kind of mimic or be similar to how a fibroid grows on your uterus. So it's very common to have both of those illnesses at the same time. So just to speak on my fibroid journey, in 2018, I was having my cycle. I've always had like heavy cycles. They've been irregular at some point, especially with weight gain and weight loss, which could be attributed to my overactive thyroid. So I've always had issues with my menstrual cycle. I started my cycle before, like right before I was 12 years old, always heavy bleeding. Some months it would come, some months it wouldn't. Irregular cramping, back pain, dizziness, like when you stand up and you just all of a sudden feel like your head is spinning. So many different things that I dealt with for years that I didn't really know like what was the cause of it. So in 2018, one day I was at work, I was on my cycle, I went into the bathroom, and it was just so much blood just pouring out. I had to like clean up the floor and the toilet with paper towels and make sure, no one went in there while I was cleaning because it was a mess. It looked like a crime scene. And to tell you the truth, I really should have went to the emergency room right after that, but I didn't. I knew my period had always been heavy, so I just thought, okay, well, maybe it's just a little heavier this month, but I wasn't like freaking out about it, which I probably should have. So I made an appointment to see a gynecologist. I had to wait a few weeks to see that gynecologist. And at that time, that was 2018, I was like 27 years old. And that was the first time I had went to a gynecologist. I know that sounds bad, sounds like irresponsible, but in my mind, I felt like I did not need to go to a gynecologist. I was not sexually active. So I just put it off. I didn't really address it at all. So I went to the gynecologist and they did like a pap smear pelvic exam, and she would like feel around my stomach, and she noticed I had abdominal fullness. So she was concerned that it could be cysts or fibroids. So I went back like the next week and got an ultrasound. They did the ultrasound on the stomach, not the transvaginal kind, because I was not sexually active. So that was good. I didn't want any more poking or prodding than I needed to have. So when they did the ultrasound, they did notice a few fibroids on my uterus. The doctor described it as a garden of fibroids. The largest one was 8 centimeters, which is pretty big, especially for that to be my first time knowing about them. The doctor gave the analogy or like comparison of you have to be 10 centimeters dilated to deliver a baby, and my fibroid was 8 centimeters big. So that was like almost the size of a baby's head, which was crazy. I really didn't know how to, like, what to think, what to expect. The doctor, she was very, comforting, letting me know that was very common and there were things that could be done to help it. So I just couldn't get my mind together. I didn't know how to respond at that moment to what to do. She asked about birth control. I was not interested in getting in birth control. My weight has always fluctuated up and down. So birth control, I knew that wouldn't be helpful for me, and I really had no other need for it. So the doctor just said that we would monitor the fibroid. She wanted me to come back every 3 months to get an ultrasound to see how they were growing. Me being me and not wanting to deal with it at that time, I felt like, no, I'm just not going to worry about it, which was the wrong thing to do, because even if you don't think about it, that doesn't mean it goes away. So I did not go back for months for the follow-up ultrasound. Fast forward a few years later during the pandemic, my weight still fluctuating up and down. There's been different changes with my job, stress from my job. I ended up having like a lot of pain one day while I was sleeping, like in my upper, like my rib cage area under my bra. So I went to the emergency room. I didn't know what the issue was. They took a CAT scan of my abdomen and my uterus, or my pelvis, excuse me, and they noticed that I had gallstones. And also the CT scan showed that, the fibroids were still there. My uterus were enlarged, like it wasn't going away, like I tried to think that it would by not addressing the situation. So at the emergency room for the gallbladder, they told me it needed to come out right away. So I had an emergency surgery about 2 days later in the emergency room to remove my gallbladder. They did it robotically and laparoscopically. So I have like 4 incisions around my belly button area and 1 up high, and then they pulled the gallbladder out. So I took about 2 weeks off to heal from that, from the gallbladder, and then I realized, okay, the fibroids, they're not going away. They're very present, still causing the issue with bleeding. So I needed to address this. So that was 2021. I went back to the doctor. Now I'm 30 years old. I should have a better, grasp of things and mental capacity of handling different issues. So I went back to the gynecologist. She was like, "Hey girl, where you been?" And I just didn't really have an excuse. I got my ultrasound that year, or then that was 3 years later from my first one. The largest fibroid had grew to over 11 centimeters. That's huge. And being 30 years old, there was no way that they would shrink on their own. Usually fibroids would shrink during menopause when you're not having your menstrual cycle. But at 30 years old, I'm years, maybe 20 years off from menopause. So the doctor and I had a discussion on if I wanted to have children and if I would be prepared to have these fibroids removed, because they're not getting better, they're getting worse, they're getting bigger, in essence. So at that point, I knew that it needed to be addressed. I was more aware of fibroids and how it was affecting my life, just from constantly being tired, back pain, cramping, like being bent over, having to lay down during work, working from home, like heavy bleeding, all of that. So I was considering to get the fibroids removed. She did give me my options. She wanted to, because I was still in my childbearing years and I eventually want to have a child. She recommended the myomectomy, which would be the best option for me. There are other procedures that are more minimally invasive, but it may not be the best fit for your future. Like if you want to have children, you may not want to get the embolization. I think it's a UAE and a UFE that like stops the blood flow to the fibroid, which can also stop the blood flow to your uterus, which would like prevent you from having children. So you have to know what's the best solution or procedure for you. So the doctor, she explained the procedures. She told me she does not do the myomectomy, which she recommends that I have. She could do the smaller procedures, but in order to preserve my uterus, she wanted me to go to a specialist, which was a reproductive endocrinology and infertility specialist. The doctors that she recommended were at a fertility clinic They were all men doctors. She gave me their cards, and I was like, oh man, I really prefer women doctors. I just feel like there's a better connection. They're more compassionate, but I knew, like, don't make any more excuses. You need to have this done. So when I got the ultrasound and discussed this with the doctor, it was towards the end of 2021. And I knew my insurance was going to be changing. So I told her at the beginning of the year I would reach out to the doctors that she recommended. She understood, and she was offering me like a progesterone birth control type pill to monitor or regulate my cycle, where I would take the pill for like 10 days and then not take it while my cycle was on. I did not look forward to taking that, so I didn't take it at all. I just waited until the new year, January 2022, and I reached out to the doctors. The doctors were booked. I was not expecting them to have such a long wait time to get an appointment, just even an evaluation. She gave me the name for 3 doctors. One doctor didn't do the procedure anymore, and the other 2 were booked. So I just booked an appointment, which the soonest, which was like in March. And then I kept going on the website, like they had online scheduling, and I noticed that one doctor had availability coming up in January. So I called to see if I could switch that appointment. They were able to get me scheduled in. I believe it was about January 19th was the first appointment I had with the doctor. I got my medical records from my gynecologist and took it to the doctor, the fertility specialist, to discuss the surgery. So the doctor was a young man. I think he did a great job on the procedure. I will not be sharing the doctor's name. Just, personal preference not to, but he did a great job. I would say, just as I thought, I really had no connection with the doctor. It was just, what are you here for? What issues are you having? And here's the plan. It wasn't like any specific connection. Every time I went to the doctor's office before the surgery, I sat up in a chair and he sat at a desk. There was never any like exam done at all, which was fine with me because I really didn't want him to do an exam, but I thought maybe he would want his own, findings or records, but he went off the ultrasound that my doctor provided in the medical records. Then he ordered me to get an MRI, and I had the MRI. This is like February now. I go back, I give him the MRI. He looks at it, makes little notes about the fibroids and how they are. The shape and size was really about the same from the ultrasound. So he just made notes, and then he told me someone will be reaching out to me about the surgery. So I'm just waiting around. Like a week later, I emailed the surgical scheduler like, hey, do you have a date? I was very anxious in this process. I wanted to like at least know how to prepare, how to, give my job a heads up that I would be out and know how long I would be out. During one of our consultations, he said the recovery was 2 weeks. I was like, no, that can't be right. We were discussing like an open myomectomy, which is where they do the C-section cut, like an abdominal myomectomy to remove it. And that usually has a longer recovery time than when it's done laparoscopically. And he was like, no, 2 weeks off work is long enough. He said he was the best at what he does, and he was very confident in his work. So I was like, 2 weeks? I just knew it was going to be like 6 to 8 weeks is the recovery time that they mentioned online. So I thought that was the time frame that I would be out, but I just went along with it. he was like the only doctor that had availability, and I really wanted to get it addressed sooner than later because I knew if I pushed it off any longer, I probably wouldn't have got it done and just lived in misery for more years to come. So I didn't want to do that. So finally, about mid-March, it was about a month since I had the MRI and talked to the doctor. They gave me a date for the surgery, which was April 8th, 2022. I let my job know. I worked up until that day. I worked April 7th. I was still working. I should have taken more time off just to prepare my mind because I was so anxious about getting it done. I was nervous. The first time I had surgery, when I got my gallbladder removed, it was like, oh, your surgery is going to be in 2 days. You have no time to think and worry. It's happening. So while I was waiting a few months for my fibroid surgery, I was just like Googling, researching, looking on YouTube, which is why I wanted to share this video myself, because I've seen a lot of good videos, a lot of people sharing their myomectomy journey. I know a lot of people that I've seen, they realized they had fibroids during their journey to conceive. I'm not actively trying to conceive, so I think sharing my journey would be good for people like me who are just dealing with all of the symptoms of fibroids and are just looking for some relief. In the future, when I am trying to conceive, I'll share an update if and when that time comes. But YouTube was very helpful and informative to me when I was looking up my research and trying to keep myself from worrying about, oh, what's going to be done? What do I need? So the day comes when I'm to get my surgery. They told me to arrive to the hospital about 2 to 3 hours early. My mom was with me. We get to the hospital and check in, and we're just sitting in the waiting room. There was so many surgeries going on that day, like orthopedic surgeries, all type of surgeries. And we're just sitting. I'm just watching, people watching go in and out, just very anxious. So then they take me to the bag. This is the day of surgery. They take me to the bag. They tell me, pee in a cup, take off your clothes, put on this gown. They get me an IV started, and I waited in the waiting room for like over an hour. They took me back maybe 30 to 45 minutes before my scheduled surgery time. So I was like, I could have just came here 1 hour in advance, but I guess it's to make sure that you're there and on time. So I just was in the little waiting area for the surgery. I had my gown on, I had my IV, anesthesia. They come tell you, oh, we're going to give you this, we're going to give you that. And it's just all like foreign. You don't really know what to expect. And then the doctor, my surgeon, he comes. And once he got there, he filled out some paperwork. And then we went back to the OR. And they pushed me to the OR. And this is like a funny part. So I had my glasses on. My mom was sitting in a little waiting area with me. She's like, give me those glasses. Like, let me hold your glasses. I say, no, I need my glasses. I need to see when I wake up. So I keep my glasses on when I go back to the OR. And they asked me to like scoot over to a table. I was just like getting a little nervous. And then they gave me, the happy gas. They gave me a face mask. And I started getting loopy. And I'm like, wait, is this the anesthesia? And I asked the nurse, I'm like, am I going to sleep now? And she was like, yes. So that was the last thing I remember. And then he did the procedure. My procedure was an open abdominal myomectomy. They removed 5 fibroids. They also did an endometrial biopsy to check for any cancerous cells as well. They did check the fibroids as well. The doctor said they removed over 1,000 grams of fibroid from my body. I will enter a picture here. If you're squeamish, close your eyes. So that's how my fibroids look. And my incision, the incision was really the most painful part. It looked like he sewed it. I don't know if this is a word, but he like underhand sewed it. Like it looks like, the incision looks like that. Whereas the incision from my gallbladder, I could tell that they stitched that up regular because it's like thick and it keloided where I had my gallbladder removed. But where my myomectomy scar is flat. You can barely see it. He did a great job. I remember waking up in the recovery area. And there was a nurse by me and she was just asking me my pain level, and I'm like, a 10, a 10. And she just gives me more pain medicine, through my IV. And then I'll just fall asleep and wake up and she'll be like, are you in pain? And I just like, I must have done crazy eyes or something because she did her eyes like back at me, and I was like, yes, I'm in pain. I feel like something is squeezing me. So she lifts up my gown and she unloosed this binder, which is like a waist trainer that they had on me, I guess to put my organs and stuff back in the right place. But that was so tight and painful. I was like, oh my gosh, I could not believe that was like causing so much pain. I had back pain as well, like right after the surgery, because I'm like laying, flat as a board. So me and the nurse are just talking. She's asking me about my pain level. I'm like, where are my glasses? Like, can you pass me my glasses? And she said, we don't have them. And I'm like, what? I said, no, I had my glasses on when I went in the OR. And she said, I think your mom has them. I said, no, my mom's going to be mad because she told me to give her the glasses and I didn't give them to her. So she was like, okay, I'll find them. And I'm 30 years old. Talk about my mom going to be mad that my glasses were lost. Like, girl, you paid for those glasses. Your mom don't care. So the nurse like calls my mom and she's like, hey, do you have her glasses? And my mom's like, yeah. And so the nurse like reassured me, like, your mom has the glasses. So I'm like, okay. How my mom got the glasses, I don't know. I don't remember. So I leave the recovery area. I don't know if there was like a time frame they made me stay down there, but I left the recovery area, went up to a little room, and my mom was there waiting for me. And my brother, he came, he bought me a lily plant, which was so nice. And I'm just like in pain. And the nurses on the floor where my room is are like, are you in pain? I'm like, yes. I'm trying to find a way to get comfortable. I'm like sitting with my knees up in the bed. They're like, you want your knees up? I'm like, yes. I just was trying to find some kind of relief. I asked if I could put something under my back, and they were like, no. So I just was in pain. They were giving me narcotics. I would fall asleep on and off. And I only stayed overnight. So the next morning, the doctor who did the surgery, he came, he looked at the incision. He told me I did very well during the surgery, and that's when he texted me those pictures of the fibroids that were taken out. And he told me that the goal for the day was to use the bathroom once the catheter was removed and pass gas. They want to make sure everything's flowing correctly. So I was able to do that with no problem. The worst pain was when I had to get out of the bed to go to the bathroom. I did the little nurse thing, call for the nurse. So I rang the bell to call for the nurse. I told him I had to go to the bathroom. It was a nurse that wasn't really my nurse. He was like, okay, you can go to the bathroom. So I just like swung my legs off the side of the bed. And when I stood up, that was like the worst pain ever. I went in the bathroom. I had to sit on the bathroom with the raised potty chair because the toilet was like so low. I knew it would be just terrible trying to get up off of that. So I sat in the bathroom for a little while. Then I took a shower, and the main nurse asked like how I was doing, if I was ready to go home. I told him, yeah. My sister came and got me, and she went to the store, like to a few stores on our way home, and I just was falling asleep in the car. Like those narcotics were knocking me out. And before I left, I asked like, do I need any other prescriptions, any stool softeners or anything? And he was like, oh, just get some stool softeners from the store. And I forgot to get them, so now I'm back home taking these pain pills. My mom is here with me. I'm just making sure I'm okay, like making sure I can get around, but I wasn't having any issues like getting in and out of the bed. It was a little painful where the incision was, but I was able to get up by myself. They recommend you take the pain pills like on the prescription. So it's like every 4 to 6 hours. I was taking them around the clock, like right on time. The first week because the pain was intense. And then I got like so constipated. It was terrible. I was trying to find all the Miralax, just any kind of prune juice, anything to find some relief because those narcotics like had me so constipated. That was another crazy pain. So make sure if you're getting surgery and they're going to be giving you narcotics, make sure you have your stool softeners. I've seen people say prebiotics and probiotics help them a lot with their digestion and their bowels. So make sure you have something to keep you regular. Other than the pain in the incision, I did have like a lot of nerve pain. Like I would get random little like numbness and tingling down my legs. Sometimes stabbing pains on the side of the incision, cramps, like if I'm sitting one way too long, like cramps in my stomach. But overall, the pain that I felt during the recovery period was just for that short amount of time. Since I had the surgery, my cramps have gone away. I'm 3 months out, so like it's July now. So I'm 3 months out of my surgery, and each period has gotten better and better. The first period, it was not not cramping, but it was very heavy. It was a very heavy flow. The month after I had my myomectomy, the second second period, it was just seemed normal. The first day it starts kind of light, then second and third day it gets a little heavier, and then like fourth, fifth, sixth day it's pretty much gone. Like it's very little to no bleeding. And July was the first month that I was like out of the house because I'm back working at a new job, which is in person. So July was the first month in years that I've been, away from my home while my cycle was on, and it was no issues at all. I really over prepared. I'm like, oh, let me bring all of my pads, baby wipes, jacket, wear black, but I had no issues at all. Cramping, no cramping. Sometimes in like on your uterus, you feel like a weird sensation, kind of like a pulsating or quivering sensation, but it's not cramps. It's nowhere near as bad as how cramps were. So that's my story about my journey with fibroids and other issues that led up to me finding out that I have fibroids. So just be aware of issues going on in your body. Advocate for yourself, speak up for yourself. The doctor doesn't know anything is wrong if you don't tell them. And always give yourself grace. You may feel like, oh, well, I'm fine, it's nothing, I'm not sick or anything, I'm just having a lazy day. No, it could be something more behind that, to why you're always feeling tired or any other mood changes. There's a reason too. So just be sure to advocate for yourself, be aware of what's going on in your body, and make the decision to take the steps to get yourself in better health, whether that's surgery, eating better, working out, therapy. I've done therapy myself, and it was very helpful because my brain always seems to go to the worst possible scenario. Like if something happens, it's gonna be bad. That's how my brain thinks. So just put yourself first. And I hope this video helps someone. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment if you've had any myomectomy or any type of surgery or treatment for fibroids. Any advice is welcome. And thank you all for watching. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time. Bye.